All that money and power, is it bumps to the powder? Who's the one that's in power? In the coming of hours, even sons is devoured. Don't run like no coward, yeah, the summer is ours. We louder than blunts with the sour. The hood is off, the fangs is out, the hood is lost, they banging out.
Today,
KTL Plus, shout out as well.
Shout outs to KTL Plus, streaming live right now.
Yes.
First, I want to just start off by saying appreciate your time as always.
Indeed.
You know, thank you for always sharing with the, with the people and just kind of giving insight. We live in a world where, it's so many things of abundance, but when we gotta appreciate the things that we can touch and feel and deal with in a real way. So I appreciate you just coming out here and sharing the information with the people.
Absolutely. Honor.
I want to start by saying I wanted to have you here because I want to talk about something that I've been hearing you speak about for a long time.
Right.
I've seen you done lectures on, answer here and there. I haven't seen too much of speaking about this, but it's a major topic, and I wanted to get a clear understanding of what it even means. I hear you speak about it all the time, and what we're talking about is something called the Law of 44.
Yes.
Okay, my first question is, what is the Law of 44?
The Law of 44 is a theorem that explains the relationship between everything in the known and the unknown universe by compartmentalizing it and simplifying it to one term, which is God is a cube. And I utilize the number 44 to explain that particular equation, or that ideology or that concept that I'm introducing. And yeah, it's my explanation of the interplay of this number, which is not just a number, but it's also a shape. It's not just a shape; it's a frequency as well. And it just shows the interconnectivity to all things in the universe, known and unknown, seen and unseen.
Okay, so it's a cube. You said at one point, right?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Again, when I said that it's not just a number, it also represents a shape.
Yeah.
When we look at the number 44, we have to break it down to its subcomponents. So let's look at it first as a cube, right? A cube or a four, let's say a square, consists of 4 parts, right? A 4 is a square. Let's picture it as a square or a box. 2-dimensionally, if you make that box 3-dimensional, that box is going to be a cube, right? Now, if you take a whole nother box or a whole nother square or a whole nother cube, and you put those 2 boxes or those 2 squares or those 2 cubes together, then what are you going to get? You're going to get a cube within a cube, or a box within a box, or a square within a square. And the interplay between both of those bodies or those properties, both of that particular interplay is like the way that you put the understanding of creation and existence in a nutshell, just in that particular diaphragm of seeing this square move within the square, or this cube move within the cube. And that has a name, and it's called a tesseract. And it's at the root of all of our imaginary movies. We entertain it in the realms of imagination, and we understand it when it's introduced to us through Marvel Comics as the cosmic cube. We understand it when it's introduced to us in the Transformers as the All Matrix, you know what I'm saying, or the energy cubes. We get it when it's shown to us in the realms of imagination, because that's where we remember it at. You feel me? But it's been overlaid in this physical world with physicality. They anthropomorphize these stories and put persons and mythos to them, characters and everything, right? They're telling the oldest stories ever told over and over again. Same story, new characters. And we're caught up in the story and missing out totally on the experience. So the experience is to realize yourself as a vessel living within a vessel that lives within a vessel. You know what I'm saying? And it's like every day of your life, are you experiencing that? Are you engaged in that relationship? Do you understand your relationship to all kingdoms, dominions, and things that you are tethered, stringed, and threaded to? Chances are we're not. You know what I'm saying? My hyper awareness of this particular number started making me like very much focusing on patterns and very just focused, on things that are cyclical and repetitive in society. And I started seeing, this might sound wild because of my name, the blue pill, but I started seeing the matrix coding in society. And I'm like, yo, this shit is a code, it's a simulation. Like, this is a program. You feel me? And I'm utilizing this number in real time, showing people that you can hack the program, because I've hacked it just by understanding that number at a degree that I don't think has ever been explained or understood. So that number, I kind of like have a command of that number. That number has to obey sometimes my particular, wills, calls, and demands, because we got a different type of relationship. I've had my way with this number, and able to keep my finger on the pulse of it and provide a narrative for it as it does this thing every single day, but it plays right into the narrative that's already been established for it. Case in point, so when we talk about cubes and we talk about squares, we're talking about, matter itself, or the matrix, because the word matrix just means matter. If you are born into the physical realm, you are carbon-based, and a carbon is a cube, right? And every time we hear the word cube, or we think of the shape of a cube, we think about the number 6. But a cube has 6 sides, but it has 8 points. So there's 2 numbers that are always at play. Because remember, cube is always the interplay of 2 squares, right? 2 boxes. You feel me? And that particular square, that particular box, formulating into that particular cube, the volume that exists within that cube is everything, and that's why they say that we live in a box, right? Because you're born into this cube, you're born into this world that is dimensional, where everything that is measured in this box or this square that you live is related in some way to the number 44. Like when they do measurements for every room, they have to do the square feet of the room, right? If a carpenter or a builder or a construction person or a real estate agent is trying to get an idea of what the size of a place is, right? They say, what's the square footage? And the square foot is 144 inches. It's a 12 by 12 matrix. You know what I'm saying? And the power of the number 144, we're gonna have to skip and come back. But, since we've already started the conversation, 44, again, is a very beautiful number. It's a master number because it's a number that is repetitive and repeats itself, right? And it being a master number, it being 44, we go to a system called Gematria. And Gematria in Greek means geometry. So Gematria is how you get the number of a word, so you can determine what that word's geometry is, because the numbers have geometries, right? And our alphabet comes from the root of Hebrew, which is Aleph Bet. Okay, so the root phonetic or Phoenician that comes from the actual language, well, actually Hebrew comes from Phoenicians, which is the root of phonetics or phonics and everything that we use to put together or structure language, right? They deal with something called alphanumeric. So in Hebrew, the letter is a number. So the A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, so on and so forth, right? But it changes its frequency as you go into multiples, I believe, of sevens, right? I'm sure they'll correct me if I'm wrong. But nonetheless, with the last letter being the letter T, which is Tav, and its number is 400. So in the midst of that, right, we understand that when they say words are worth their weight, it's because in the old world they would add up words. Anything that you said, your words were weighted because your sentence equaled a particular numerical frequency, and that numerical or that number matched the numerical frequency. So the frequency of your words, you just didn't waste words or say things out of character because of the weight of your words. You know, you wanted it to hit a particular way. This was the science of communication that we once understood. So when we get to Gematria and we get to the root of the number 44, when we add up the word April 4th, which on a calendar will read as 44, and then we add up the number, and we add up the word 44 written out as, you know, like FORTY and all of that. We write that out on both of these ciphers, right? In the simple Gematria and in the English Gematria, in both of these ciphers, we come up with 144. So the word 44 equals 144, and the word April 4th equals 144. And 12 times 12 equals 144, right? And the 12 by 12 matrix is, you know, that's building the 33 into the 44 and you know, all of these things, because 44 is the composite of all numbers that come before it. So the 11 is in it, the 22 22s, the 33 33s, and the 44 44s. You know, all of these numbers are packed in it. And 144 is you know, it's a number that also comes up when you add up time, and the number 44 is the number that comes up when you add up space in Gematria. So even the fourth dimension is ruled and governed by this law of 44, because time and space equal 44, right? So time within itself equals 44, but time is 1,440 minutes is the time in a day. So even mathematically, you can see in the structure of time, it's a 44 resonator and it equals 44, right? Again, in time is denoting what? Matter or space, where space is measured in the metrics of 144 because it's measured in square footage. You dig what I'm saying? So everything is a box. The table is a box. The TV is a box. The bed is a box. The pillow is a box. The fridge is a box. You know what I'm saying? The cabinets is a box. The roof is a box. The tub is a box. The cabinet's a box. You know, the cereals is a box. You got boxes on, goddammit. I mean, it's just nonstop. You got to get in the car, it's a box, or a bus is a box, or a train is a box, or a plane is a box with wings. You know what I'm saying? It's either, you know, it's square and it's rectangle, but it's four-sided. It's these boxes that in this cubic world, you know, we are born into, specifically in this society. In the Eastern world, that's the difference. And the other parts of the planet that we come from, we never built our homes in boxes, not with 90-degree angles. They was always circular, or they arrived at a point, because you got to keep energy moving in a particular way. So these boxes and these squares that we find ourselves in, that's very much the energy of the 44, because the 44 is a square, and squares deal with friction and constriction and also control. So the frequency of the music, right, they changed it in 1955 to what, 440 hertz frequency, because if you looked at that under a cymatics, when they paired the cymatics of 432 hertz next to 440 hertz, 432 hertz is a circle. That'd be 144, because like 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. That's circular. That's, you know, that's a renewal energy in motion. Whereas 44 is an 8. That's rigid. It's a square. You feel me? It's a boxy situation. It got angles and what have you. It's going to cause friction. So the music is causing friction at a microcellular level, at an audio level that we cannot even perceive with our ears, but it tears us up. This what Ye was talking about. when he was talking about the 808 and what it does at a base frequency, and how if you are disturbing, the parasympathetic nervous system at a root-based chakra level, the whole body is going to become, susceptible for some level of, infiltration. It'll be very easy, to like throw people off if they don't have foundation. And the music as a vibration is able to change that. On the color spectrum, the color that's associated with A440 is a color orange and a color blue on the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? And then you go and you find a school like Syracuse whose color is orange, and they have the legend of 44 up at Syracuse, to the point where they even changed their zip code to 44. This is where Jim Brown comes from. This is where who's the brother? The very first character that Chadwick played was in a movie playing. Who was it? Ernie Littles, I think is Express was the name of the movie. Right? All of these legends came out of Syracuse, and they all wore the number 44. And that's an iconic number in Syracuse. Even Derek Coleman wore the number 44. And on the basketball side of things, but there's a football legend as well that runs, all through the histories of football. Everybody know about it. So, again, that's why the Empire State, the colors of New York are what? What's the colors of Empire State sports teams?
I'd probably say blue.
And orange.
Like an orange, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all the mixed colors, yeah.
Yeah, that's the 44 spectrum. Right? That's the Empire State. And, that by far is the energy that's being ruled. It's only associated with top tier shit, right? They said the 1%ers on the planet control 44% of the wealth, right? Where they said 44% of the population couldn't afford an emergency payment of $1,000 if they needed to. So it's always dealing with a mirror effect or a contrast, if you would understand the whole aspect of it being a mirror effect. Whereas, like, let's take the lady Miriam Adelson, who is the richest Israeli woman on the planet. She's the 44th richest person on the planet. They say the richest Israeli, the 6th richest woman, right? And I think she's, it was another 44 that they associated or connected with her. But there's always these overlapping and connecting, seemingly unrelated ways to arrive at this particular number, but it always connects and it bridges and it binds. You know what I'm saying? The NBA within itself, the logo of it is the number 44, which is Jerry West. He transitioned 44 days after his iconic, he had a hook shot that he was famous for winning a buzzer beater in the finals. Let me pull it up exactly and see what's being said so I don't misquote this. Yeah, Jerry West forces overtime in 60-foot buzzer beater versus New York Knicks in 1970 finals. 44 days after that, on Wednesday, which equals 44 in Gematria, he makes transition. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
At the age of 78. In the 44 year, this is 2024, 20 plus 24 equals 44. Wow. This is also a Kobe year because it's a 24 year, that's an 8 year when you add up 2024. And Kobe wore 24 and 8, but he also wore number 44 in the Moesha episode, right? Where he had the 44 on playing for Crenshaw. I mean, he's a 44 resonator in a lot of different ways, and now they want to replace number 44, Jerry West, with number 24. Kobe Bryant and Jerry West, number 44, were responsible for trading for number 24, Kobe Bryant. They had an admiration for one another, And now because number 44 has passed, we might see the jerseys get replaced with number 24, Kobe Bryant. If you want to give niggas something to really play for and play with a whole new passion, you know what I'm saying? They will renew that contract and get these young men Kobe on their hearts to play with. You know, but it's a reason that they got a number 44 on these jerseys powering it up. Because again, I said that it's related, it's connected to carbon, because carbon is the cube and carbon is Saturn. And when you go to the numerology of the word 44, in numerology, they say 44 is under the influence of Saturn. You know what I'm saying? Saturn is perhaps the most beautiful of all planets with its huge ring system. There's a hexagonal North Pole on Saturn that looks like a cube, right? And it moves like a, you know, like a hexagon. So all of these particular naturally forming Platonic, what they call Platonic solid, these geometric patterns and figures that form throughout the galaxy that denote intelligence, because these are not random occurrences for these particular geometric patterns to form and be consistent throughout the universe. It denotes intelligent for it to be patterned in other places. So these are the things that make analytical people kind of geek, because of the connection to the cube and what they understand the cube represents in regards to its ability to maintain or contain power, right? When they give you the stories, even when we grew up in the cartoons and they was telling us about the cubes with the Transformers or G.I. Joe, right? It was always because the cubes was the batteries. It was the unit that could contain the most amount of energy that somebody's planet needed to power their shit up. You feel me? Think about it like that, right? So our homes are that, and we the batteries charging this shit up. And there's something that might be an outer force that's feasting and feeding on us that just don't really tell us, you know, that it's harvesting our energy and telling us how powerful that we really are, you know? And yeah, we exist in these self-contained units, locked in a box within a box within a box, signing bad contracts, putting ourselves deeper in a box, you know, deeper in a fictional box. You dig what I'm saying? Like, I remember, like, take somebody, the characteristics of a 44 resonator. Clive Davis was born on April 4th, right? I found it very ironic that when I watched the movie of Whitney Houston, that Clive Davis was responsible for funding and directing to a degree. He had a picture of a cube behind her head, and it was a cube with a box within a box within a box. And she was signing her contract. And this is the part of the movie where they were speaking about him owning her likeness in perpetuity throughout the universe, right? Forever throughout the universe, as far as the universe go, this man owns the voice of an angel, you know what I'm saying? In the career of an icon that broke all sort of records, and this man had the gall and audacity of having a Grammys party the night that she transpired, regardless of whether his angel had transitioned or not. So that just goes to show you, like, here goes the picture. I mean, we'll show the, we'll get the graphics on the screen to get it more precise, but that's not happenstance that you would put a cube behind her head when she signs this contract. I know exactly what the hell they was transferring and translating, because then that just takes us to, you know, its connection to the Zionist regime and its aspects of why is the number 44 so specific amongst Kabbalists, right? And people who understand the nature of, you know, let's say Jewish magic, if you will. And again, because the number 44 represents blood, right? In the word, in Hebrew, in the language of Hebrew, the word blood is dam, as in damu, like bloods, right? Damu comes from the root word of dam or dam, and that's a Hebrew word that means blood, and the number of blood is 44. In Hebrew, it also means, it's like the whole family, the mother, the father, and the children. It breaks down to a lot. It means Aquarius, it means Aries, it means light, it means you know, like spermatozoid, you know, life itself. it's a lot of different meanings that it cascades with, but it denotes what they call the 44 kings of Israel, which is a signature for them. Once again, one of these telltale signs of, the coming forth of their Messiah, you know what I'm saying, the fulfillment of prophecy. So the number 44 is very special to them, specifically for how their, I would say, Kabbalistic sorcery is being, for lack of a better term, casted. And I'll explain why, right? I was following the blood moon tetrads in 2014 and 2015. So what that is it was a set of blood moons, right? Blood moons is when the moon turned red, right? And these particular blood moons was interesting to me because I had experienced a blood moon in 2012 on December 21st. No, let me correct that. It was 2 years before 2012, so it was December 21st, 2010. And I had experienced a blood moon that night. I was in Brooklyn, on Clarkson, matter of fact. And it was the illest shit that I had ever seen. I was like, yo, this is different. Like the moon turned red, and it was an eerie ass feeling. So when I heard about these blood moons coming around, and I'm still studying all things dealing with the number 44, I noticed that one of them was gonna land on April 4th, the third one. So I'm like, damn, this might be something. Let me keep my eye on this. And I was already on my research. I was already studying and researching everything back in 2014 and 2015. And Jay-Z was at a New York Nets game on April 6th or April 7th. They put him on the New York Post because he had the 5% chain. He was sitting courtside. And they was like, oh, Jay-Z's rocking the chain of some devil worshiper. I mean, some people who think the white folks are devils, they are
the
racist.
7.
He was rocking the 7, right?
Yeah.
The flag. And they put him on the front of the New York Post. I remember that. And right after that, on April 14th, was this blood moon, the first one. That was the same day that Mimi Force blood, her porno tape leaked with Nico, right? I grew up with Nico. Shout out to Nico, right? But that was some wild style shit anyway, right? And to me, it was wild. She was 44 years old at the time, and to me, she was the most quiet young lady. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, like I didn't think that. You know what I mean? She would have been the last one that I would expect to go that particular route where the whole world is fixated on her box. And then they was clowning her. They was clowning her performance and the fact that she didn't get paid enough. So I'm like, y'all done took this queen down to this level of a conversation. You know what I'm saying? It was just looking crazy and shit. And I was just thinking about how we just value women in our society during this blood moon, and hear these, the Israeli people is like, yo, these are signs of our people, because they got historic moments in their time when tetrad blood moons come around. It's always when they do historic shit for their further advances, whether they're borrowing somebody else's narrative or not. They pick the baton up, and the legs that they have run have fallen under these blood moons, where they take it as signs and symbols that they gotta fulfill prophecy. And they said during this time they want to prepare themselves to go to war against their enemies and fight them to the end, right? But what I noticed is that, right, because all 4 of these blood moons fell on quote-unquote Jewish holidays, right? The first one was Passover, which was 4/15, right? So I'm like, here these, the people who you say is borrowing your traditions and that you say that you are, but here they go, they doing the Passover shit, celebrating when they had to put blood over the door to stop the firstborn being killed. But here we in Mimi's box talking about she's whack because the nigga Nico was beating it in the shower, and she holding on to the shower rod, and she becomes a meme overnight. And I'm just like, she might have done it to herself, granted, but leave it up to the nigga that it don't take no breaks. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna put rockets on your motherfucking sprockets, and it's a wrap. So I'm like, damn, look how we do our women. They women,
Facts.
you see them and shit, they women be like knock-kneed. They got 4 carriages. They pushing the carriage 3 different ways. They got children on their back. I'm like, the value be looking different. The second was Katt, which was on October 8th of 2014. That's when the second blood moon came, right? I remember that day as well. That was the day a black man died of Ebola. That was the first time that happened. I was like, damn, that's a curse under this blood moon. He came from Nigeria and he flew into Dallas and they said he had Ebola. He went straight to the hospital and then died. But right before him, there was a white woman who came from Spain. She was a nurse and she had the Ebola. And when she flew to the US, they had an antidote for her. And I was like, God damn, that's a hell of a different story. They were celebrating her shit. You know what I'm saying? How she made the breakthrough. And this was a breakthrough drug and they was putting it on the market and fielding offers for they wanted to cut the check. And the homie just died and shit. And I was like, damn, they be doing us dirty. And that was October 8th, 2014, right? And then the next one was on April 4th of 2015. That was Passover. It was a Saturday. I remember that's the day they shot a brother out of South Carolina named Walter Scott. It was a Saturday. They shot him in the back and they put this shit on TV because they had the dash cam footage. He was running from a traffic stop and the police let him have it. And that was on 4/4/2015 during the 3rd blood moon. And on the 4th blood moon, the Pope came to the US and pulled up in Philly, the home of the Philadelphia Church of Revelations. And that was on September 27th, right? Or in this case, they're saying it was the 28th, 2015. That was also Katt. So you had 2 Katts and you had 2 Passovers during 4 consecutive blood moons during 2014 and 2015. And that was the season when they was indiscriminately killing black people left and right, shooting them down and putting it on TV during the Obama presidency. It's almost as if they was just thumbing in his face that he couldn't do nothing. And this is the season that we took to the streets and we was protesting as a people. I think this was during the rise of BLM and all of that crazy stuff that came out of that. This was Mike Brown era and all of that. And they was going hard and every goddamn place that they killed our people at, every police force was trained by the IDF. Every last one of them.
IDF was that?
The Israeli Defense Force.
Okay.
It was all trained by Israel. How to do what Israel is doing in Gaza right now, right? And this is the same IDF that's behind the 60 cop cities that they want to implement in this country to teach the police force how to do what they're doing right now in Gaza, because that's the pinnacle training for urban warfare, and it's the only place that they teach it like that. So they were the ones responsible for turning the U.S. police departments into paramilitary organizations during them seasons when we was going to war with them in them streets trying to get that quote-unquote justice, right? So I just found it very ironic that they were utilizing that energy. And then during that time, that's when, right after the first blood moon, right after April 15th, that's when the Don Sterling case popped in the U.S. And Don Sterling is a case that's playing out because they got a FX episode series on TV called Clipped about Don Sterling and the LA Clippers, and it's being played by Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne, and it's crazy how shit comes full circle and we find ourselves right back in these situations, right, with these people who again have a very unfavorable view of us as a people, and definitely have been on code and have been on agenda with putting a foot on our necks, you know, and firmly putting it, positioning and keeping it there. And then it's almost like, because of the nature of what's taking place in the world right now, we're almost held hostage to all of their bad branding. It's like we can't call a spade, and the shit is obvious. You know, what does that do to the world? What does that do to the sanctity of truth if you can't speak it? So that's that box. That's the constriction that I'm speaking about with the 44s that is so tight before you even wake up and to know it, you in a whole new box within a box within a box. And you literally might be ending up in the box somewhere in somebody's penitentiary because of something that you said, speaking the obvious. You're like, shit, what, you want me to suspend all truth to make you comfortable? They're like, yeah, that's exactly what we want you to do. And if you're not willing to do that, we're going to kill you. So, yeah. I've been talking for a minute.
Yeah, nah, I mean, you know, listen, that's the opener. You know what I'm saying?
It's just the opener, yeah.
I wanted to just kind of give you, you know, some of the things that I looked up, right? I saw Law 44 is a term refers to a guideline used in the field of software development, particularly related to user interface and user experience design. And then what I read was kind of like it dealing with the average adult human index finger pad is approximately 44 pixels wide on a standard computer or mobile device screen. So it speaks. When does the Law 44 deal with that at all?
Yeah, I mean, again, the thing about Law 40, everything fits inside the Law 44. So
Gotcha.
I can explain that. Yeah, that screen, again, this is the black mirror, this is carbon. So that 44-inch cubic screen fits right into the paradigm, the conversation we was already having, and it's a box. So yeah, it goes into that. The one that you spoke about earlier with the interface, you know, that's what I'm explaining. I'm explaining, and I'm pulling the code. You know, like if this is the interface is reality. Behind this interface are numbers. You feel me?
Yeah.
When people is doing the Gematria and they on YouTube and they like, yeah, it's the Jesuits, and no, it's not. They pulling the curtain back and showing that there is a intentional design behind reality. That it's not a conspiracy, right? They're like eavesdropping and looking on how the coding takes place. This connects to this however many days later, and nobody can plan that like that. Like, you giving them people way too much credit. That they was there the day that you was born, and they marked off 2,784 days later that you had to die, and you crossed at this time and got hit with a car. Right? And in order for this particular athlete to do the things that they're saying that they're doing, then everybody would have to be complicit to every degree from the time that they was born. Like, it just don't make sense. What they're looking at, though, they're looking at the coding, they're looking at the wiring, they're looking at the interface, the instructions that come to tell the matter how to operate in the physical realm. So we think that this shit is freestyle. We think that this shit is free form. And it's really just a code. It's really a simulation. You feel me? I'm really doing this in a delayed, even in my mind, I'm doing this in a delayed sense. And the battle rappers can understand from freestyling. This shit is, there's a delay there. And the nicest of y'all are able to manipulate that particular delay to pull motherfucking bars, you feel me, out of thin air in snap seconds that is that much more quicker than your mouth, where you can you can see it before. You know what I mean? That's the mastery of improv. They said that's the highest form of science is freestyling. Initially, it would be improv jazz playing, but a jazz player was just doing what these niggas is doing without a saxophone, with their voice being instruments, freestyling. You know what I'm saying? So, and that comes from an area of the brain called the 44 Brodmann area, actually. And even brain in Gematria equals 44. But the specific place in the brain where articulation for grammar and music composition and rhythm and writing comes from is an area of the brain called 44 Brodmann. a box within a box within a box. You feel me?
When did you discover, this law of 44?
It was 2009, right? My brother Black Dot and A. Rashid, they was doing a lecture, and they was like, yo, this is, we were told that we were being requested to do an opening up for a lecture by A. Rashid and Black Dot, the brother Black Dot and A. Shout out to both of them. And they was like, yo, it's your time. We have been students, faces in the crowd prior to. I initially helped put some of them stages together, but I was always a student, and when my time came to present and to speak, I stepped up. AA is the Kabbalah God, and he was studying Kabbalah at the time. I was with a brother in my company that I was building with at that time named Noble Ampu, and he was into astrology, right? That was his strong suit. So he was reading a book called Time in the Technosphere from Jose Arguelles, and I had access to books that AA was dealing with Kabbalah, specifically the Godwin's Kabbalistic Encyclopedia. So I'm reading a multitude of things, getting ready for my presentation, doing research, and I kept coming across this number in both different texts, and it was just very attractive to me because my grandfather had always, he used to talk to me about the number 4 until he was just blue in the face, for lack of a better term. He would be like, 4 is the most important number on the planet. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 times 2 equals 4. No other number on the planet does that. 4 seasons, 4 winds. He told me that there was 4 continents, and I believed him. He said it's the Americas. He said it's Antarctica. He said Asia, which is Europe and China and all of that stuff. And he said Africa, and he said Alaska. He said what you call it? Australia's an archipelago. It's he's like, it's not a continent, it's the biggest island. So, my grandfather in my eyes was one of my heroes, and you be holding your people up until proven otherwise. You be like, fuck it, my grandfather said it, nigga, we rolling with that then. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, just looking for 4s and having appreciation for the number 4 and seeing my grandfather in that conversation, I just was attracted to the fact that these 44s, because it just was attractive to me as a graphic designer and artist. I love the way that the number looked. So I'm like, let me just see if there's something more to this, because, it's just something there that feels like it needs to be uncovered and explored. So I just started deep diving. I was drawn in by the beauty of the number and the mystery of it. You know what I'm saying? Knowing what my grandfather had initially told me about the number 4. And I'm a twin, so I'm like, oh, that's a twin number. It's a master number. You feel me? And it's not my number. I'm a number 5, but that's a number 4. So I'm flirting with this number and shit, trying to get it to open up its legs and reveal its mysteries. And I have, through time. I've discovered some amazing things, and it gives me a perspective that I can explain any and everything in the world using the number as my center point. And I initially might have came off looking crazy, but you know what I'm saying? I'm far from crazy right now. I ain't missed yet. Like, I Mr. 44, like when you say somebody's a 44 resonator, they've done something very notable with the number, and they'll never not be associated with it. Like Elon Musk, right? He bought Twitter for $44 billion, but they just approved his financial payoff package from Tesla yesterday, and it's $44 billion, right? Mm-hmm. And he got other 44s connected to him. So I'm just like, the randomness of a number, because there's infinite amount of numbers. Why does this one number consistently pop up the way in people's lives that it does, and it's structured and standard to mean specifically what the definition says that it is, right? It's associated with shit that deals with control, the top shit, the number 1 shit. You feel me? Like Microsoft is the #1 country in the world in terms of its earnings. It was founded on April 4th, 1975. But the goddamn logo, if you look at it, it's a 44. It's a fucking a square. What's within a square? Within a square, separated by a cube. I mean, separated by a cross. Right? Because even the cross, the word of cross itself in Gematria is 444. But everything dealing with the whole cross, Christianity, Jesus, everything is dealing. That whole demonstration is dealing with the 44. Because God is a cube, even according to the Jewish Bible and the Christian one. Not that I'm saying it, because that's what it says. If you know how to read it, it's very clear. It says God is a number, right? It said it's a tetragrammaton, and they said it's a 4-letter word, and it's a number. The number is 26, which is just 13 plus 13, or 4 plus 4. They said God is a cube. They said God is a rock. They said the church is a rock. They said Jesus is a rock. They said the church was built on a rock. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They said that New Jerusalem is going to be a golden cube. Did they not? Or am I making this shit up? Right? You can Google it. Say God is a cube. Google that and see what y'all get. Because, I mean, again, this is nothing that I'm making up. All of this stuff was here when I got here. And I just put it together because it was all laying in you know, different pieces scattered apart. And I'm like, let me just cohesively pull it together and show you that, yeah, maybe it don't work for everybody. Maybe this is a conversation that won't appeal to any and all people. But for those that appreciate numbers, for those that appreciate the geometry of numbers, for those that appreciate the understanding of frequency, right? And those that want to operate between the notes, this science may be able to do something for you. If you can minimize the world and reality down to an object, then manipulate the object, that's how you can change your life. Simplify this shit, put it in a fucking nutshell, and then crack the goddamn nut open, pause, you know, all that stupid shit.
You know, it's funny, I looked up God as a cube, and it just reminded me of Roblox. Like, I mean, I'm seeing a bunch of different things with, you know, God as a cube.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
games and everything, different type of things.
They're obscuring it by other shit, but people can do they deep dive and look to it. But I'm just saying, like, this is not, this is theosophical and theological. Both of them teach you this in their system. This is what they operate off. You know what I'm saying? What you think that they operate in Mecca with, around the Kaaba? Is that not a cube?
Yeah, facts.
Is the Sabbath not Saturn dealing with the black cube? Right? And again, like we said, we can show you that the cross is a cube. When you unfurl it, right? Look. Cross is a cube all day. You feel me? All of these situations, you know, are dealing with the cube. They're dealing with the science of the cube within the cube, or the tesseract, or the 44. I'm just the Pope that comes along and explains what it is, so we can get, you know, onto something that's much more difficult or requiring of our attention. But if we can't figure out how to utilize something that's so simplified that you put it in a box, I don't know what else to do for nobody at this point. Because I'm like showing you how they did it. Like, these niggas is worth $3 trillion. They knew something in order to fucking put the shit in the logo, make sure that they incorporated the goddamn company on the day. Look, World Trade Center, April 4th, 1973. Like, what do these people know that I gotta, once again, over-convince somebody of? If I gotta tell you what it is, chances are it's not for you at this point. But for those that know what it is, you feel me? Then they're gonna be able to operate within the space of appreciating the geometry of a cube. Just start studying the cube, and then you might be able to master the realms of this reality that much more easier.
How does the law of 44 relates to the 48 laws of power, law 44 and the 48 laws of power, where it says disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect? Again,
because 44 is a mirror number, right? And the number 4, like in Hebrew, the word or the number 4 is the letter D, which means the word daleth, which means door, right? So it's a door. A 44 is a door to a door, right? It's a mirror effect. It's as above, so below. It's standing on your square. But when you're standing on your square, that's a physical form of you being grounded in the physical realm. But your Godhead is activated. So you also are holding up, right, the realms. You know, the ancestors are standing on your shoulder and all of that. So your spiritual square as well as being engaged. So as above, so below. Yeah, so there's a mirroring aspect that goes into, again, physicality, right? When they say that something is carbon, you carbon copy and you mirror it as well, right? We have the ability with our mirror neurons to see something, duplicate it, activate it, and do that thing, right? We also do have that power. As carbon beings, we have that ability as a mirror effect to carbon copy and duplicate. If you can do it, right? They say it's not what you can do, it's what you can duplicate. You know what I'm saying? Don't just say that you can do something. Can you do it again? Then you're really doing it. You know, the one-offs and shit like that, that's cute, but
What do you think about it being used, like how they say in the 48 Laws of Power, as far as disarm and infuriate? Like, I guess holding a mirror to somebody to give them, I guess, to disarm, like I said, or infuriate.
Well, 44 is an aggressive number as well. Like, there's certain countries that won't use it and don't acknowledge it. There's certain numerology systems that don't even adhere to it. Like in India and China, 44 is the number of death.
Yeah.
So it's a very aggressive number. It deals with, in Gematria, equals military, it equals shooting. It's the kill number, you know, it equals the word kill. You know, it's Aries energy, so it's Mars, it's war. Again, it's blood, you know. Blood is sacrifice, you know, blood is drawn in a lot of different ways. Blood is gushy and gory to some people. Blood is any and all things. You know, 44 encompasses all things, light and dark. So, infuriating, and what's the other word?
Disarm.
And disarm. Yeah. You know, in the respects to the law of 48, when they use that particular method, it is dealing with disarming somebody by you mirroring their tactics that they feel so comfortable that they let their guard down because you're not doing anything outside of the norms. They're saying study your opponent and do what they do, so you're not moving outside of their rhythm where they might notice you, to be attentive enough to be focused on you, when then they'll let down their guard, and that's when you are able to quote unquote strike and attack. Right? 44 is a very cunning number. Israel is 44, Zion is 44, Netanyahu is 44, right? Their whole campaign at this particular moment is utilizing the Aries energy, the 44 energy of warfare for them to fulfill prophecy. So, yeah, it's a very cunning and disarming energy, and the way that they're able, if you see the way that they're doing it, they do it, you know, with control. They control the narrative, they control media, but they have a constricting hold on it, right? Just like how the number suggested, it deals with contraction and constriction. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how they have the stranglehold on the narrative. They don't even want to allow any dissenting conversation or argument to even get no wind, no air. They're just going to suffocate it from the gate. So.
Well, I wanted to also add on, as far as like the 444, what do you think about the 444 and numerology, when it says what you've been preparing is going to happen immensely. The number is thought to be a message from your angels that everything you've been building towards the horizon and your determination will be rewarded. And I seen in the conversation you spoke about the 444, Jay-Z, and you know what I'm saying? So as far as like, how does that apply with that 444? People see that a lot of times on the clocks and things like that.
Yes. And, you know, the way that we explain, again, 444 is the higher order or the higher degree of 44, right? 44 is like the middle ground. They're still trying to work it out. It's kind of light and dark. But 444 is a higher frequency, but it also has its mirror as well. So what I mean by that is the word Messiah means or equals 444. Jesus equals 444, but Lucifer equals 444. Muhammad equals 444. Cross equals 444. The king equals 444. The key equals 444. I mean, it goes nonstop, but it speaks of a higher order, a regal energy, something that's very much elevated. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when that 44 graduates and gets the whole other 4, you know, and kicks into the 12. Again, goes from the rigidness of the 8 to the 12, which denotes the 9, which is the spiral aspect of it now, saying, you know, I've come into the higher order of 44, and I'm going to generate this particular energy to create, to duplicate myself. You know what I'm saying? I have mastered this energy enough where I'm able to repopulate it and duplicate it responsibly, you know, bring more kings and gods onto this planet and not no lesser gods. You know what I'm saying? We don't need any rigid dictatorships and tyrants and misplaced energy. You feel me? So yeah, there has to be a balance.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and I seen with Jay-Z, how did that, like, you know, what was your mind when you seen him drop the 444 album? You know what I'm saying? And you in the world of 44s.
Yeah, it was, you know, one of the reasons that, again, I was attracted to the geometry of the number 44 is because my favorite artist used to mention it and play around with that number, which was Jay-Z. He was playing with the 44s the same way he was playing with the 22s.
Yeah.
So when I was deep in my research and I had utilized Jay-Z as a, you know, as an archetype to explain this law in so many different ways, and I seen him come out of nowhere with 444, I just felt like it was just him paying homage, you know, speaking through the noise, because there's no way that he hadn't seen what we were saying about 44s leading up to that. But then I'm like, all right, well, even if it was serendipitous, it just came at the right time. I was going through something in the community. We had just did something on a public stage about a member in the community, and we kind of was like cutting ties with people. We was moving on and creating something brand new for ourselves. And in the midst of that, this album was announced, and I just took that as a sign, you feel me? That I'm like, yo, let me go over here and keep honing my craft, because I know I'm on to something. I don't need nobody else. I'm having a conversation with the cosmos, like, I need to be more focused on this and not by the distractions, because, you know, my mind is too great to conjure up such a thing. And then I had to curate it in my mind to make sure that it was going to be healing and what it needed to be. Because for 10 years I was telling people that Jay-Z wanted to drop a conscious album or something on a higher frequency. This is why he battled Nas. He wanted to be the street disciple, and Nas wanted to be the Willie at that time. And someone's like, nah, I need some of what you got over there, but you got to get out the way from it.
What you trying to kick knowledge?
Trying to kick knowledge, but he wanted to kick the knowledge, but on his terms. You can't be the king of New York and not have that piece of the crown. And that's the interesting thing, because they would just think that it's like a missing 5% piece, but Nas was emphatically not 5%er. He made it known on several different occasions, and I interviewed him myself and asked him, and he said, no, he said he would identify himself resonating more towards his mother's religion, which was Christianity. That's what he said. It blew me away, but I was like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? So it was a hell of an interesting dynamic, you know what I'm saying, that this brother who resonate with 44, he's a 44 resonator. He was responsible for the 44th president getting in. He married his wife on April 4th. They both have 4 tattoos. I mean, there's nobody that pays more homage to the number 44 than him. You know, named his daughter Blue, you know, Ivy for the 4 numerals. You know what I'm saying? So we know he has a strict adherence to the number 4. That's already established. Born on the 4th. His wife born on the 4th as well. But
Damn.
they are 44 resonators, and they're J and B, so they represent the twin pillars of masonry, which is Joachim and Boaz, or strength and beauty. And him being a Sagittarius, you know, you would more so associate strength with the Leo or the lion, but he resonates with that in terms of where he initially has been at as representing as a pillar in the industry. I mean, the shit might be shaky now, but at one point, you know, and she represents Virgo, which is the woman, which is beauty, you know what I'm saying? And she generates and runs the dimension of what that shit represents, how she has that society locked in. And he got his aspect of society locked in, and they're a power couple, and they're moving culture and society, you know, like the great Gatsbys of the 20s. And here we are. Pile of shit.
Also, like when you connected, you said Jay-Z and things like that. They brought in the 44th president, Obama.
Yeah, and he had 40-40. Let's go.
You know what I'm saying? 40 for 40. So, what does like? Okay, and then you get Obama. What's your mindset when you see him come in and he's the 44th president, and you in your 44th journey?
Right. So when I caught the spell or the bug, it was during the Obama years. So I caught on in 09. So he was the president, 44th. So I'm seeing this number. It's attractive to me. I'm hearing it. I love the geometry of it. I love the aerodynamics of it, and it's meaningful because it's the 40. I'm like, that's a hella cool. He got a master number. He's a master builder. He's gonna need to be coming out of this shit that he coming out of. So, and then, you know, I'm doing the knowledge on him because I'm already in my research mode. And I'm like, oh, homie got dimensions. You know what I'm saying? He got dimensions and shit. So, yeah, he represented that carbon, you know, that 44, that melanin principle, that the X factor, the unknown. But the interesting part that I found out by researching his presidency is that he was the 44th president, but the 43rd person to sit in the seat of president, right? Because Grover Cleveland sat in the presidency 2 times, as the 22nd president and as the 24th president. So to give you a precedence of what I'm speaking about with the president, you know what Trump is trying to do now? Gain a second term after he was sitting out one. That's what Grover Cleveland did in his 22nd and 24th term, right? So technically there's been 43 butts that have sat in the seat when Obama was the 44th president. So technically Trump was the 44th butt to sit in the seat of presidency, right? So he also is by far, I mean, I got 1 million like articles with 44s resonating with this dude. Like he's the illest 44 resonator of them all. But he cannibalized the old 44 to become the new 44, right? Yeah. He put Obama and he dope fiend him, and he fiended him out of his whole shit. That was the play. The play was for him to run down on homie and erase all of his shit off the wall. Yeah. That's what they put him in play for. Because he was like, yo, I'm going to tear this nigga down, right? I'm going to cannibalize him. He devoured him and became him on some 44 shit. You know what I'm saying? And then he got turned around and got devoured by the 44th vice president of that particular administration. See how they did that?
Before.
Right? And then they're attempting to give that back to you. So you've been under 44 presidency or one that's connected to it since 2008, whether you know it or not. They got you locked in the box.
So
in the cube.
Well, to resonate highly with it, like what, I guess in a sense, what's the determination of the law of 44? Like what are we getting, or what is it to gain or not gain by knowing or understanding the law of 44?
It's your ability to see the mechanics and the mechanisms and the methodologies of the matrix in full time. You can catalog it, or you can choose to get up in there and hack the matrix and decipher it. I'm active. I report on this shit, but I get in the shit and I get mixy with it too.
Yeah.
You feel me? I throw uppercuts and jabs. I got knockouts. I got bodies on the fucking in the game mode. You know what I mean? Like I'm in it, showing myself that it's not just a idle theory, but it's something that you can. You know, like if I tell you could go to the matrix and push your finger through the mirror. They're gonna be like, but for what? And I'm like, just do it. Your reason might be totally different than mine. Some people might just like the gooey look. Some people might actually want to get to another dimension. You feel me? And it's the same with this information. Some people might be 1%ers. They might want to really motherfucking run the mechanics of this planet and this universe and take this shit and tweak some shit. They might want to get real Terrence Howardy with the info. Right? And some people might just want to find themselves in the simplicity of it all. Some people might just follow the beauty of it. Some people might just want to track it. And some people probably find no value in it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yo, speaking of Terrence Howard real quick, right?
Again, I like, once again, like I said, I like to have cohesive narratives that kind of not so much minimalize things, but streamline them, because it be mad shit going on in the world.
Yeah.
And the only commodity that we really have is time. So it's like, how can you catch it all? You know, so for me, my ability just to cohesively pull things together in a narrative that to me has not failed, but it consistently and continuously shows me that it's right on point. And no, I can say the wildest of wild shit, and it still configures and finds its way into this narrative orderly. Then I'm like, yo, shit, join me with writing the script. You know what I mean? So you can see for yourself that you can write the script. You can get casted in it, and you could do a lot of the casting of it. And there's no excuse that we shouldn't be writing ourselves as victorious in the script if we can, you know, be able to cast it. But I'll be damned if this is not a thick script. And according to everything that I'm researching, it was like this before I got here. It was handed to me, so it's like y'all didn't give me no cliff notes.
Yeah.
Nobody gave me no fucking sheets where they like start from here.
Yeah.
I ran into this information by doing the research.
Yeah.
Just to find out, you know, again, how deep the rabbit hole goes. And I'm like, wow. You know, let's figure it out together, y'all. Let's figure it out together how we can use it. But it's a geometry. I can show it to you. You know what I'm saying? It's a way that you can see it. And I'm like, if you can see this shit, then more than likely you can hack it yourself too.
As far as like where you want to take it, you know what I'm saying? Like you kind of like, you know, you got your patent on it, you know what I mean? Your digital patent on the law of 44. Well, is this something like, you know, I guess, you know, you want to actually make into, or you've already made into something that's real because you already made it exist?
Yeah,
you know?
I've fused myself with a number, and I've already achieved my goal of immortality. So my job is done in that respect. You know what I'm saying? I think that, you know, but I could only qualify having that relationship and that connection by finishing my breakfast. So I still got work to do with, yes, bringing the highest form of understanding that comes with this understanding. You know, I have to exhaust my consciousness while I'm here. I have to turn it inside out and upside down to get any and everything possible that I possibly know about this number out of my mind. And because it probably it's not for us right now. Probably, you know what I mean? Like, I just need to do my job. And that job is never ending, right? It'll be researched when we're going. It'll be put together, but it will unlock some things. You know what I'm saying? It'll open up some things. It will make things a lot clearer. It'll bring things a lot nearer. You feel me? As opposed to things being so far off and so distant and so inconsistent. Like, yeah, I need things to be very much simplified, you know, in their natural order. And to me, when you speak about knowing the measurement and the metrics of the matrix, and you can show and prove it, and the shit is very mathematical and scientific at the same time, and we watching Terrence Howard and being wild and shit like that, I'm like, yeah, all right, okay. No disrespect to homie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But even when he spoke about carbon, he said it was a 4-4 matrix. Can't do nothing without it. You feel me? That is God within itself. That's gold, oil, and diamonds. That's all the wealth on the planet. You know, it's all dealing with 44 resonance. The financial system within itself, cryptocurrency, all of those are 44 resonators. There's nothing outside of the bounds of reality, known or unknown, physical or unphysical, that doesn't come under that particular law. So, like I said, I think there's a lot that we can do. You feel me? I think that there's a lot that we can do with it.
Anything you want to, like, you know, share with the people, with the family, with those who you know, who are investing in the idea? Anything else you want to, like, make sure that they're clear and understanding about what the law of 44 really is?
Again, family, I was taught that whoever controls your time controls your reality, right? So what I sought to go out and do once I realized the parameters of the box that we live in, right? Because people always talking about getting out of the box, getting out of the box. So
Thinking outside of the box.
Thinking outside of the box, and we got to get outside of the box, or we're trapped in a box. You know, the first things that I started doing for my personal research was investigating the nature of the box and the parameters of the box. Where does the box exist? And, you know, the number associated with the box, again, like I said, was always 6. And then the God bodies told me, you know, God, you got to be 7 in order to rise outside of the box, because that's the black dot that exists in the center of the box. So the only way outside of the box is to go within. Knowledge itself is the only way that you're going to free yourself outside of this box. So I studied any and all things, and like I said, my introduction into understanding the connection between geometry and mathematics, you know, astronomy and color, you know what I'm saying, Kabbalah and all of these other different esoteric systems that give us a multi-layered understanding, you know, how to see into things dimensionality-wise. Yeah, you know, I was able to uncover something, you know, that I feel, once again, like I said, at least as a mental, physical model, simplifies our interaction and interloping and interplay with all things that we're coming into contact with. You know what I'm saying? Because there's things that we're touching, there's things that we're not touching at this particular moment. But, you know, we're within the circumference of all things at all times. Everything is connected. Everything is connected by a thread. You know what I'm saying? And how do we strum those threads? How do we control those threads? You know? And yeah, I just want to help that process of people being able to clearly see and understand and go directly to whatever their goals or aspirations are once they master thinking outside of the box. But in order to do that, you have to see what the box is. You have to understand the box for what it is. You have to be able to understand the metrics and the measurements of the box in order to say, I'm officially thinking outside of it. So with that,
Law 44.